Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham. Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham.
Kripalu Parishad. She's also a sannyasi preacher and has been a devotee of Shri Kripaluji Maharaj since very early childhood. After extensive study of the deepest aspects of the philosophy of divine love, Sanskrit scriptures, the Vedas, Gita, Bhagavatam, Darshan Shastras, and devotional music, she received the Vaishnav sannyas in the Raganuga tradition of Vrindavan, India, from her spiritual teacher, our beloved Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj. For over 25 years, Didi Ji has been providing insightful satsang programs throughout the US, Canada, New Zealand, Poland, Ireland, you name it. So now I would request Nitika Agarwal, on behalf of all of us, to give Didi Ji a small bouquet as a token of our respect.
Kishori Das, ये नहीं जम रहा है. श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की, श्रीमद् युगल सरकार की. गुरु राधना दिश्च गुरु परम दैवतम, गुरु परतरम नास्ति, कृपालु गुरवे नमः. ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्तिः, पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदम्, मंत्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यम्, भक्तिमूलं गुरुर्कृपा. बर्हापीडं नटवरवपुः, कर्णयोः कर्णिकारम्, बिभ्रद्वासः कनककपिशम्, वैजयन्तीं चमालां, रन्ध्रान् वेणोरधरसुधया पूरयन् गोपवृन्दैर्वृन्दारण्यं, स्वपदरमणं प्राविशद्गीतकीर्तिः यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वंह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशम् मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये. Dear devotees of Sri Maharaj Ji, respected viewers, Radhe Radhe. We'll chant for a few minutes. Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे राधे 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 गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे गोविंद गोविंद
गोपाल राधे कृष्ण 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 गोविंद गोविंद
Krishna Govinda Govinda
Gopal Radhe Krishna Govinda Govinda.
Shrimad Sadhguru Sarkar ki. Before I begin, I bow in deep reverence to my most beloved and revered Gurudev, Jagadguru Dham Shri Kripalu Maharaj, whose oceanic grace alone makes this humble attempt possible. It's only by his compassion, by his strength, and by his inspiration that I find the courage to speak today. Whatever I share in these coming moments is not my own. These are his divine teachings distilled from the highest Vedic truths and delivered with a love and clarity that transforms hearts. To try to express my gratitude would be like attempting to hold the ocean in my palms. I can only offer these words as a humble, small gesture of heartfelt thanks, knowing that every syllable, every insight, every inspiration that I offer today flows solely from the light of his divine omniscience. May his divine grace guide my speech, and may his divine presence silently touch every heart listening. Dear souls of God, with that offering at the lotus feet of beloved Shree Maharaji, let us begin the first reflection together on a path that Shree Maharaji so lovingly illuminated for us, all the souls. Calling the divine name the soul's greatest treasure. Imagine carrying a cell phone everywhere, checking it constantly, seeking messages, updates, connections. We all live in a world wired for communication. Yet somehow we find that we are most disconnected than ever. What if I told you that the soul also has its own signal? An ancient, sacred connection that doesn't require any technology, no battery, no network, just the yearning of the heart. And that connection is God's divine name. Calling the divine name is like dialing a number that never changes. It never disconnects, and it never fails to respond. It is the original call, older than time, yet eternally fresh. And while this world offers us temporary conversations, the divine name of God invites us into an unending communion with the source of all love, joy, and truth. No password required, no subscription, just sincerity. In this age of noise, overstimulation, and fleeting distractions, the soul longs for something lasting that it can rest in. So the Vedic scriptures tell us that that of all the divine practices, the highest practice is the calling of God's divine name, because it is most accessible, it is most powerful, and it is most intimate. So today we will learn, or we will explore what it means to call the name, not just with the lips, but with the heart. Because when the heart reflects on the eternal longing of the soul or the inner self, it discovers that its eternal treasure was always within reach. So the saints, the sages, they proclaim that whatever we seek outside of us is in fact already within us, awakened through the divine name. Yes. And this is why the scriptures echo this truth again and again, that the divine name is not just a syllable. It is the embodiment of divine mercy. That's what it is. The method of devotion that Sri Maharaj teaches us and has taught us places emphasis on the divine name, Sankirtan or Kirtan. Sri Maharaj urges us, encourages us, invites us to pay special attention to Sankirtan and Smaran, or the loving remembrance of God. Yes. As it is so beautifully described by Rupa Goswamiji, one of the greatest acharyas of the bhakti tradition, in his profound composition, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He explains what Sankirtan actually is and what its power is. Naam Leela Gunadi Namuchaira Bhasha Tu Kirtanam. This raises a question as to what is Sankirtan. Sankirtan is the loud chanting or the singing of the divine names and the form and the pastimes and the attributes and the leelas of God. Yes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, Gauranga Mahaprabhuji, is the principal pioneer of Sankirtan over 500 years ago. And in one of his 8 sacred teachings, in his Ashtapadi, he has described the glory of the divine name and what the divine name does for us. So Mahaprabhuji describes, Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamaha दावाग्निर्वापणं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण Sankirtanam. So Mahaprabhu ji, he tells us what Sankirtan does for us. What is the significance of the divine name? What it does for us. So, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The divine name of God, it purifies the mirror of our heart. It cleanses the mirror of our heart. That is, the very foundation of bhakti or devotion is to cleanse or purify our inner being. Yes. Because only in that purified vessel of our heart can our Guru impart that grace of God. So the divine name, it purifies the mirror of our heart. And the blazing fire of material existence is extinguished by chanting the divine name of God. And Shreya Kairava Chandrika, it spreads the soothing rays of auspiciousness and well-being, like the rays of the moon, the soothing rays of the moon. Yes. And it is the core, it is the soul, it is the heart, Vidyavadhu Jivanam. It is the soul, the heart of the bride of learning. Because no matter how learned or intelligent an individual may be, if they don't practice bhakti, if they don't practice spirituality, if they don't chant the divine name of God, then that dry intellectual practice will only serve to increase their ego. Yes. So, Sankirtan is the heart and the soul of the bride of learning, Vidya Vadhu. And chanting also, what does it do? It also gives us an expanding bliss within. Yes. Because as we have heard through Shree Maharaji, Raso vai saha rasagvam hevayam labdhva nandi bhavati. God is rasa. And so when we chant His divine name, then we experience ever-increasing bliss. So Mahaprabhuji tells us that chanting the divine name is that supreme method by which an individual soul can swiftly and surely reach his divine goal. And therefore, Bhagavan Shankar also tells his divine consort, Parvati ji, Uma kahau mein anubhav apna, sat hari bhajan jagat sab sapna. So, Bhagavan Shankar, Lord Shiva, says to Parvati ji, O Parvati, I speak from my own experience. Devotion to God is the only real thing in existence. Everything else is but a dream. It's an illusion. Many great devotees have also sought a boon from God. Yes, they pray. Ab Prabhu Kripa karahu ehi bhati, sab taji bhajan karahu din rati. O Lord, please give me this grace. What grace? So that I may abandon everything and only dedicate and devote myself to chanting your divine names and glories day and night. So there's a question that comes, that arises, and the question is, Is this loud chanting of God's name in accordance with the Vedas and the Puranas? Or is this something that has been propagated in recent times by acharyas? So the answer is, this chanting of God's divine name has existed since time immemorial, since beginningless time. It is eternal. And it is not only Vedic, it has been described and glorified throughout the Vedas. That is why it is described in the Rig Veda. Asya jananto nam chid vivaktana mahaste Vishnu sumatim bhaja mahe. Rig Veda. So the Rig Veda describes, in fact, this verse has been elaborated in the Lakshmi Dhara Bhashya. And a sage by the name of Dirghatama, he describes that, O souls, chant the names and the glories and the pastimes of the one, of God, of the one who is the creator of the universe, the primordial cause, the all-seer, the supreme controller, the witness to all actions, to everything, the well-wisher of everyone, the Lord of every soul, and the omnipotent one. And when you will do that, what will happen? You will receive divine power. Yes. And so further, the Rig Veda says, Tamusto tarha purvayam yatha ritasya garbham janushapi partana. Rig Veda. So the same sage, Dirghatama, he once again describes that, O souls, sing the glories of God's divine names and his attributes and his virtues. Yes, the supreme cause, God, the supreme cause of everything. Through the teachings of the Upanishads and through the expressions of the Upanishads and the Veda and the Puranas. And through this glorification, what will happen? Your intellect will be purified. Yes. So a question is asked again as to whose name should be chanted in the form of Sankirtan. Which divine power's name should be sung or should be chanted? So the question is, Kasya nunam katamasyamritana manamahe charu devasya nama. Which divine power's name should be chanted? So the answer is, Agnirvayam prathamasyaamritana manamahe charu devasya nama. The name of only supreme divine power, the Lord above all, only the name of God should be chanted, not of the demigods or the celestial gods. No. So this shows that the Vedas glorify. The Vedas show that chanting of the divine name of God is not a recent invention. It is a scripturally grounded method for attaining God's love. Yes. And so the Vedas, they emphasize the power of God's divine name as a path to purification, to liberation, and to strength. Yes. So further, the Vedas tell us, Marta amaratasya te bhuri nam manamahe. That, oh, Lord, we, all of us here, we mortal souls, we sing your divine glories, the eternal one. You, my Lord, you are eternal and immortal. We sing your divine glories. Yes. Sadate nam svayasho vivakmi. Rig. That, O Lord, we chant your name, your fame-filled divine name. Please purify our mind, our heart. Yes. Upasmai gayata narah. Rigved. Sing the glories of God's name. Trataramindram avitaramindram have have. Yajurved. Again and again I invoke God because He is my soul guardian. He is my only shelter. He is my protector. And through glorifying Him by chanting His divine names, the grip of Maya will be destroyed. Yes. And so further, Yajurved tells us, Upaprayanto advaram mantram voce magnaye. Yes. That when we chant the name of that Supreme Lord, though dwelling afar, listens to the humble call of every individual soul. Yes, this is what the Vedas tell us. And this is not only described in the Vedas, in fact, this principle is reinforced beautifully in the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran. Bhagavan Vedavyas, a partial descension of God, he has described in the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran. And he describes, Kale dosha nidhera jannasti yeko mahan gunah kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangah paramam brajit. And Sri Maharaji has described or translated this verse in his Radha Govind Geet. Kali sarva dosh khani Govind Radhe Guna Krishna Kirtan Hari te milade. Though this age of Kali is a repository of all ills, is full of flaws and faults and defects, yet this age has one great virtue. And that is, an individual can attain liberation from the binding ties of Maya and secure supreme bliss through the chanting of God's divine name. Further, Vedavyasji describes in the Bhagavatam, Kriteya dhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makhaihi dvapare paricharyayam kalo tadhari kirtanat. And this verse has been translated by Goswami Tulsidas-ji in the Ramayana. Krita juga sab jogi vigyani kari hari dhyana tarahi bhav prani treta vividha yagya nar karahi prabhui samarpi karma bhav tarahi dvapar kari raghupati pad puja nar bhav tarahi upayan duja Kaliyug keval hari gun gaha gavat nar pavahi bhavatha. So that which is attained through prolonged ecstatic meditation of Mahavishnu and Satyug, and extensive performance of religious rites and rituals in Treta Yuga, elaborate worshipping formalities in Dwapara Yuga, the fruits of all of these arduous practices can be reached and attained simply by chanting God's divine names and His glories and His pastimes. Yes. So Goswami Tulsidas-ji, he further echoes to reinforce this teaching, and he says, Kali nahi karma na bhagati viveku ram naam avalamban eku ehi kali kal na sadhana duja joga na jap tap vrat makh puja. So he tells us again in the Ramayana that in this age of Kali, neither austerities, neither rituals, nor austerities, nor renunciation are effective. Then what is? So he tells us, Ram hi sumirya gai, Ram hi santat suniya, Ram guna gram hi. So he tells us, once again, chant, sing, remember the divine name, take refuge in the divine name, and keep God in your remembrance. Yes. And listen, gram, village, listen to his divine glories. Yes. So in other words, chant the divine name, remember God, and sing his divine glories, listen to his divine glories. This is what Goswami Tulsidas Ji has. He tells us in the Ramayana. Yes. And many great devotees have also affirmed this eternal truth. Goswami Surdas Ji tells us, Jo tu Ram naam chit dharato, ab ko janmo agilo tero, do janma to sudharato, jo tu Ram naam chit dharato. So Surdas Ji tells us that if we had fixed our mind on God, in other words, he's telling us that by remembering God through his divine name, we can achieve all spiritual successes simply through the glorification of his divine name. And once again, Goswami Tulsidas Ji tells us, Ram japu, Ram japu, Ram japu bavare, Ram japu, Ram japu, Ram japu bavare, ghor bhava nir nidhi, nam nij navare. Chant the name of Lord Ram, chant the name of Lord Ram, chant the name of Lord Ram, because the boat in this terrifying ocean of this material existence, there's only one refuge, and that is God's divine name. For us souls drowning in this ocean of Maya, yes, God's name is our only hope, our only shelter, our only refuge. Yes. So now we understand that all the scriptures from the Vedas to the Ramayana glorify the divine name as the one and only sacred path to divine attainment. Yes. Only. If we wish to reach our goal, the ultimate goal of this human life that we have been given, then there's only one path, there's only one divine practice we can avail ourselves of, and that is God's divine name. And in this regard, the scriptures tell us there are two explanations regarding the divine name. Nam chinta manihi Krishna chaitanya rasa vigraha purnah shuddho nitya mukto bhinnatvan nam nami noho. Yes, there are two explanations. First, that Nam and Nami, name and the named one, are one and the same. They're one and the same. In other words, God and his divine name are of equal glory and potency. They're one and the same. So God has infinite powers, and so the divine name has also infinite powers. They are one and the same. They are synonymous. You see, there are certain aspects of God that are exactly the same. Naam, Roop, Leela, Gun, Dham, Jan. The names, the form, the virtues, the Leelas, the abode, and the saints, they are the same, exactly the same. And so if anyone considers any of them superior or inferior to the others, then it would be considered a grave transgression, a spiritual transgression, as we know, nama aprad, and there is no prescribed atonement for such a transgression. It is the gravest sin. Yes. However, the second explanation tells us that God's name is even greater than God. You might ask, didn't we just say that God and his divine name are one and the same? They're equal? Yes. Philosophically, yes. But from a practical perspective, no. Because while God may not always be accessible to us, God's divine name has been eternally available to us. Yes. And even though God resides in our heart, we have no knowledge of it. God resides in his divine abode. We cannot enter his divine abode until and unless we purify our heart completely. Yes. God pervades this entire creation, but we have no experience of that due to our material limitations. Yes. And even when God descends on earth, only those who are eligible for his divine vision can actually visualize and perceive God. But for the rest of us with material vision, we cannot. That is why Goswami Tulsidas Ji says, Chidanandamaya deha tumhari, bigat bikar jana adhikari. Ramayana. So only those who are qualified, who have divine vision, can actually visualize and perceive and experience God during his divine descension. So even though God is not accessible to us yet, God's divine name has been ever available to us. And this is the reason that the same scriptures that tell us that God and his divine name are same, one and the same, also those same scriptures tell us that the divine name of God is in fact greater than God. Yes. And it is so great that God himself is unable to express or to explain or describe the glory of his own divine name. That is why Goswami Tulsidas Ji further tells us, Kaho kaha lagi naam badai, Ram na sakahi naam guna gai. Yes. Where shall I begin and where shall I end in describing and praising the divine glories of God's name? This is what Goswami Tulsidas Ji says. So, from that perspective, God's name is greater, yes. And this essence is beautifully described in an account, in a story. Once, sage Narada Ji, he brought a celestial flower, Parijat, and he came to Dwarika and he offered it to Sri Krishna. And Sri Krishna accepted it and gave it to Queen Rukmini. So after that, Naraji went to the palace of Satyabhama, and he mentioned to her that I brought this flower, Parijat, intending to offer it to Sri Krishna, assuming that he will give it to his dearest and sweetest queen, Satyabhama. But right in front of me, he gave it to Rukmini. It appears that his affection for Rukmini surpasses his love for you. So hearing this, Satyabhama, she became upset and offended. And when Sri Krishna came to know of it, Sri Krishna knew that this mischief was the doing of Naraji. He knew. And so Shri Krishna, being the one who is expert in pacifying those he loves, he told Satyabhama, I only gave a flower to Rukmaniji, but for you I will bring the whole tree. And so she was delighted upon receiving the tree, and sometime later, again, Nadaji visited. And after greeting her, he told her, you must be delighted now that you have the tree. Is there anything else you want? Do you desire anything? Ask me. You may ask for whatever boon you want. So Satyabhama, she responded and said, Nadaji, yes, please, please tell me how I can tell me a way by which I can have Shri Krishna as my husband in each and every lifetime. So Nadaji said, well, there's a condition. For that, you will have to give Shri Krishna, offer Shri Krishna to a worthy recipient. Donate him. So Satyabhama, she asked, well, whom should I donate him to? And Nadaji said, well, there's no worthy recipient than myself. So I will take him. Yes. So Shri Krishna appears, and so anyway, Satyabhama, she consented, she agreed, not realizing the implication, so she formally donated Shri Krishna to Nadaji. Meanwhile, Shri Krishna appears on the scene, and at the unfolding play, rather smiling, and so Nadaji, he handed him his divine instrument, the veena, and they both started to leave. Nadaji leading the way and Shri Krishna following behind him. So when Satyabhama saw what was going on, she at first thought it was a joke. And then when she realized, because Shri Krishna wasn't even looking back at her, she realized her mistake. And so what she did, she ran and grabbed Shri Krishna's pitambar and started begging and pleading, please don't take my Lord away from me. How will I live without him? So Nadaji said, Satyabhama, you come from a royal family, yes? What are you doing? Is it proper to ask for something that you've already donated? So now she said, Satyabhama said to Nadaji, Nadaji, you are all knowing. Please find a way so that I can regain my Lord. So Nadaji said, all right, well, then weigh Shri Krishna against gold and give me gold equal in weight to Shri Krishna. That's what he said. So a balance, a taraju, a scale was brought to the scene. Shri Krishna sat on the one side, and she put all her jewelry and all her gold ornaments on the other side. And then after that, all the queens, the 16,107 queens, they put all their gold jewelry and everything. But the scale did not budge, it did not tilt at all. Shri Krishna's side remained heavy. So seeing Satyabhama in distress, Shri Krishna, he gestured, like told a maidservant, signaled her to go to Rukmaniji. And so she went and explained everything. And so Rukmaniji at the time was worshipping Tulsi, and she was circumambulating the Tulsi. And so what she did was, like, she wrote Shri Krishna's name on a Tulsi leaf and gave it to the maid and told her to remove all of that jewelry from the one side and place the name, that leaf, the Tulsi leaf. And when she did, astonishingly, Shri Krishna's side, it lifted. In other words, he became lighter, and the name became heavier. So when Rukmaniji, when she came there, she said to Nadaji, did you see, Nadaji, what happened? If you want, you can sit with Shri Krishna also on the other side. Yes. So Nadaji, he placed reverently that leaf that had Shri Krishna's name inscribed on it, and he he said that I didn't come here to take anything or to receive anything. In fact, I came here to reveal the fact that God's divine name is greater than God. Yes. And so that's what everyone just witnessed. So God's divine name is greater than God. And how great is it? How great is it? So Goswami Tulsidas Ji tells us again, Nirmal man jana so mohi pava mohi kapat chala chidrana bhava. Yes. So the Lord Ram says, only those pure in heart can attain me. Yes. But then those with a pure heart can attain God. So how is the heart to be purified? Yes. Well, then God says, well, that's not my concern. It is as though he's saying, purify your heart first, and then I will accept you. Yes. So the name of God says, well, even if God does not accept you, I am not less than God. I am equal in power to God. So then who takes the responsibility? Who does the work of purifying our heart? It is God's divine name. Yes, because God gave a response, a firm, conditional response. Purify your heart, and only then after that I will interact with you. But God's divine name compassionately takes the responsibility of purifying our heart. That's what God's divine name does. Yes, and that is why Goswami Tulsidas Ji has described in the Ramayana, Sabri Gidha Susevakani Sugati Deen Raghunatha Nama Udhare Amit Khala Veda Vidita Gunagath. So how many souls did God or has God personally delivered or uplifted? So Goswami Tulsidas Ji says that when God descended on earth in Treta Yuga, he was on earth in the land of Bharat for 11,000 years. Yes. And how many souls were liberated during God's descension? So Goswami Tulsidas Ji tells us, Ram ek tapas tiyatari naam koti khalakumati sudhari. So during his descension, Bhagwan Ram delivered only one, Ahilya. And even in that, there is some uncertainty, there is some doubt. Because when Ahilya was cursed and when she was cursed and she became, when she turned into stone, and when she received the touch of the lotus feet of Bhagwan Ram, what happened? She did not unite with the supreme beloved, the supreme husband, Bhagwan Ram, who was in front of her. No, she went to her earthly husband, Gautam Rishi. Yes. Now, if her husband, Gautam Rishi, went to Vaikuntha, then obviously her liberation would have been completed. But if he went to heaven or to Svarglok, then we know that when the punya or the merit is exhausted, then anyone has to return to this material earth planet. So there is uncertainty, yes, that Ahilya, even whether she was liberated or not. That's why Sri Maharaj tells us in the Radha Govind Geet, Ram ne Ahilya tari Govind Radhe Nam koti pati tan पावन बना दे. Ram ne Ahilya tari. Yes. During his dissension, perhaps Ahilya, but what about the divine name? The divine name liberated countless souls and rendered them divine, uplifted, purified, elevated, thousands, millions, countless souls, the divine name of God. Yes. That is why we have heard from the Ramayana that the whole world actually knows this account from the Ramayana. Ulta naam japa jag jana Valmiki bhaye Brahm samana. Mara mara naam jap Govind Radhe. Valmiki ko bhi Brahmarshi bana de. That Valmiki became Valmiki through the chanting of God's divine name. He was a dacoit by the name of Ratnakar. And simply by chanting Mara, 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 he realized sainthood. He became a saint. So in the very life that sage Valmiki became Valmiki, as I just mentioned, he was a dacoit by the name of Ratnakar. So when he met his guru told him that the only way that he could atone for his sins was to chant the divine name of God, Ram, Ram, Ram. But he could not utter God's divine name, Ram. What did he utter? Mara. Mara means dead. Yes, that's what he uttered. Imagine how astonishing it is that a person can utter Mara but cannot bring himself to say Ram. Even in this world, you would not find a sinner so degraded that he can say Mara but not Ram. But Ratnakar, he had committed so many sins that his sins prevented him from uttering God's divine name. And yet, it was only God's divine name that ultimately purified him, and he became a saint. And he revealed the divine leelas of Bhagwan Ram even before his divine descension. Yes. So if it weren't for the divine name of God that we have so freely available to us, how could we have wretched souls ever been redeemed? There would have been no way. It would not have been possible for us. So such is the glory of the divine name. And we must have heard and even read in the Ramayana that when Bhagwan Ram, he wanted to attack Lanka, to go find his divine eternal consort, Mother Sita. Yes, when he wanted to attack Lanka, what did Bhagwan Ram do? Ram bhalu kapi katak batora se tuhe tu shamakin hana thora. Yes. What did he do? He gathered the bears, bhalu, and the monkeys to build a bridge. To do what? To cross a physical ocean of this world. Yes. Such a massive endeavor. He rallied the troops. And who? Bhagwan Ram. And observe and witness the glory of God's divine name. What does it do for us? Simply, if we can just wholeheartedly, sincerely, with all our faith, remember his divine name. नाम लेत भव सिंधु सुखाही, करहूँ विचार सुजन मन माही. Just by uttering God's divine name with full faith, the ocean of material existence, it dries up. Oh, noble souls, reflect on this. It dries up. That's how great God's divine name is. That's how amazing it is. Nonetheless, the sad reality, the sad truth is that even though we have been blessed over the course of countless lifetimes with this divine name, yes, and we have chanted the divine name countless times, and the name that is saturated with God's divine bliss, divine love, we have not been able to derive the benefit of its inherent potential. We have not yet tasted even a drop of God's divine name. Why? What is the reason? It's 8:35. Sorry. I mean, I can keep going. I don't mind. Should I? All right. Thank you for your permission. All right, let me just have a sip of water. So, what is the reason? Once again, Gauranga Mahaprabhuji tells us in his Ashtapadi, Naam namakari bahudha nij sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamitah smarane nakalah etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrishamiha janina anuragah. So he tells us, and Shri Maharaji has translated this verse, Naam mein hai sarva shakti Govind Radhe Durdaiva vash vishwasna bata de Durdaiva artha yah गोविंद राधे नाम अपराध नाम फल को नसादे. So Mahaprabhuji tells us in the words of an aspiring devotee that, oh Shri Krishna, you are so kind, so merciful that you have imbued your divine powers in your name. In fact, you reside in your divine name with all of your transcendental, your divine energies. Yes, with your divine love, your grace. Everything is already there in your divine grace, in your divine name, rather. And yet, it is our great misfortune that we do not experience the ras, the bliss of your divine name. Why? What is the reason? So the reason that Mahaprabhuji gives us, Durdaiva midrishamiha janina anuragah. Yes. We don't love the divine name. That is the reason. We don't love the divine name. Yes. We don't chant the divine name with a heart full of yearning, with love. No. We utter the divine name casually, as though the same way that we utter anyone's name in the world. As casually as that. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So casually and mindlessly we chant the divine name of God. Yes, we repeat the words, but have we ever paused to reflect? Who is Bhagwan Ram? Who is Shri Krishna? Shri Krishna? Yes. Who is Shri Krishna? The Lord, the creator of infinite universes? Yes. One who is adored by countless Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar, and glorified by them. The Lord, the beloved of all the souls, the eternal master of time and space. Have we ever reflected on that? Perhaps not. So we just casually utter God's name just as we utter or say anyone's name or take anyone's name in the world. Yes. This is the reason Mahaprabhuji gives us. This is the reason we don't have that affection, that affinity. We don't feel that attachment. Even as much as we feel an attachment to our own people, our family, even our pets. Yes. Yes. So, how should that divine name be remembered? So, Kabir Das Ji guides us. He tells us. What does he tell us? He tells us, Sumiran ki sudhiyo karo, Sumiran ki sudhiyo karo, Sur jo surabhi sutamahi, Kaha Kabir charo charat, Bisarat kabahu nahi. In the same way, we should remember God always. Hold him in our remembrance. But how? The same way that a mother cow remembers and adores and feels attachment toward her calf. So she goes to graze in the morning. Why does she go? Because so she can have milk for her calf. That's why she goes. So she thinks, I will go graze on the grass and I will have milk for my calf. Her deeper concern is not the grass, it's her calf. Yes. So Kabir Das Ji tells us, O householders, O souls of the world, whatever you do in the world, do it as your duty, as your responsibility, as your obligation. Do it with all sincerity, of course, but do not let your mind become attached in the world. No, just do it as your duty. Yes. And when that same mother cow, when she returns home in the evening, then she gets excited. She becomes restless in that longing to be with her calf. And what does she do? She lows loudly. That's what she does. And so when her calf hears the mother, then the calf gets excited, also longing to be with the mother. So Kabir Das Ji tells us through this analogy, through this example, that, O souls, whatever time that you spend in devotion, yes, this is exactly what you need to do, is to call out to your divine beloved with all your heart, from the deepest, from the inner recesses of your heart. Oh, Shri Krishna, when will that day come when I will behold you in my eyes? When will that day come when I will receive the divine fragrance of your divine body? Oh, Shri Krishna, when will that day come when I will taste the divine nectar of your divine love? Oh, Shri Krishna. In this way, Kabir Das Ji guides us, and he tells us that this is how we should remember the divine name. Yes, this is how we should remember the divine name. With that longing, with that yearning, with that attachment. Yes. Because the path of devotion is the simplest. It is the simplest path for divine attainment. Yes. And even in that, there are two categories of devotion, of bhakti. Vaidhi bhakti and raganuga bhakti. Vaidhi bhakti is full of do's and don'ts. Purify yourself before worshiping God. Purify the place where you're sitting to worship. Worship early in the morning. Yes, it's full of restrictions. And the path of Raganuga Bhakti, it is a love beyond restrictions. It is like a river of devotion. Yes, it is so easy. It is so embracing. It is so forgiving. Yes, no hindrance, very intimate, very natural, very natural to our personality. We as individuals, it's very, it conforms rather to our style of loving. Yes, it's very easy. And that's why the scriptures again tell us, na desh niyamas tasmin, na kale niyamas tatha, no chishtado nishedhosti, Shri Hare Naam nilugdhake. So for the one who loves to chant the divine name of God, who longs to chant the divine name of God, then none of these binding rules apply. Not of space, not of time, not of purity. No matter where you are, in whatever state you are, you don't have to worry. You can even love God while laying in bed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, it is so all-embracing and so loving. Yes, it is so easy for us to practice devotion. And I truly believe that this path of devotion as advocated by Sri Maharaji, it is so deep, it is so profound, it is so soul-stirring that Sri Maharaji has simplified it so much for us. He tells us, Sri Maharaji has done the hard work. Let me put it this way. He's done the hard work. And so, what are we to do? Simply relish the nectar of his hard work. That's all we have to do. That's all Sri Maharaji is constantly and consistently begging us, pleading with us, telling us to do is simply open our heart and let it flow. Let that ras just flow into our heart. That's all we have to do, is just open our heart. Childlike. That's all we have to do. Just become childlike and let it flow. Just like the scriptures tell us, tad japas tadartha bhavanam. Japa hoya kirtan govinda radhe रूप ध्यान भी हो योग दर्शन बता दे. So how can we open our heart? What should we do? So Yoga Darshan tells us that when we chant the divine name, we must also welcome the feeling and the meaning, the inherent meaning of that divine name. We should welcome it. We should embrace it. Just as in the world, as Sri Maharaji tells us, just as in the world, if we take someone's name, say for instance, Dinesh. So what happens when we take that name? It evokes the memory or image of that person. That's what we do. So similarly, when we take the divine name, then that divine, we should also feel the presence of God within us, within our heart. That is what we need to do. We need to do that. And just as when we utter the name Dinesh, then the form, the image, the personality of Dinesh comes to our mind first, and then we utter the name after. So Sri Maharaji tells us that that's exactly what we need to do when we remember the divine name. Whose divine name are we remembering? Today is Janmashtami, Shri Krishna's divine birth. So we're not just chanting Krishna name, we are chanting the name of Shri Krishna. See, there's a difference. Shri Krishna name is just a word. The name of Shri Krishna, yes. When we remember the name of God, our beloved, our one and all, the soul of our soul, when we add these feelings, then what happens? Then the image comes to our mind. The form, the attributes, the leelas, we should bring in front of us before we utter the divine name. That is why Sri Maharaji tells us, Jag mein bhi kahu ko Govind Radhe Purva Roop Dhyan Pache Naam Le Bata De. In the same way, Pehle Bulavo Hari Govind Radhe Pache Hari Naam Gun Leela Suna De. Radha Govind Geet. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is described, Namo Pasva, worship the name. And Adi Jagadguru Shankaracharya tells us, Yatha Pratima Vishnu Buddhya Upasate Tadvat. So just as we put deep faith and confidence in the sacred image or deity that we perceive in a temple, knowing it to be Sri Radha Krishna, and we receive the results accordingly. In the same way, when we chant the divine name, we must add remembrance. We must bring that image in front of us before we utter the divine name. In other words, we not only chant the name, we chant the name with love, with remembrance. Yes. So Mahaprabhuji further tells us how we should do that remembrance, how we should chant the divine name. I will leave you with these thoughts. I'll continue with this topic tomorrow. And also, I have another topic I'd like to address tomorrow. Living the name, the art of remembrance. So, Shrimad Sadhguru Sarkar ki, Shrimad Yugal Sarkar ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.
Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu Dham, Jai Shri Radha Madhav Dham, Jai Shri Kripalu जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री राधा माधव धाम जय श्री कृपालु धाम जय श्री